everyone, welcome to the Doctor Strange Spoilercast. I'm Captain Logan, and we're coming to you live with 100% more sound than before. We had a live show earlier, and nobody could hear Eric and I for an entire half an hour, and it was a new experience. Anyway, good to have everybody here. Thanks for being here if you're watching live. Thanks for watching after the fact if you're doing that for the next hour. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange. We're going to spoil it. We're going to spoil the crud out of it, and we're going to tell you what we thought about it, explore it thoroughly. We're going to explore it thoroughly. Let me introduce my panel tonight. First of all, it's Eric Holden.
I'm Luke Cage.
No, we're done with Luke Cage for the time being. And the bandana master, Jackson Rasco.
Hi.
Doing her best to save us from IKEA, it's the Curious Low.
I tried so hard, guys, for like a good half hour. I really did.
And finally, for his debut on a live review here on the channel, introducing Connor Nielsen.
Whoosh, whoosh.
It's Connor.
The sound effect. Did they hire you to do the sound effects for the film?
Yeah, I auditioned for the part.
The choreography.
We have a special guest vocal artist this evening. He's gonna periodically, Connor will tell us what it was like working on that film. And now we're gonna go ahead and get straight into it. So, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch. We've seen it twice. I don't know how many times you guys have seen it, but we made sure and watch it the second time so that we would have a better sense of stuff. And let's go ahead and go round robin as we always do with your best thing and worst thing. Give us a bit of an opening statement, and then we'll just open up casually for oh no, I see what he's doing.
It's because Ratsko's doing it.
We'll open up casually for different topics, talking about the film, and we'll cover as much as we can in an hour. If there's anything you guys want to make sure that we talk about during the show, if you're watching live, make sure to leave comments. We will be looking at them. Seriously, I promise we'll be looking at the comments. And I want to begin. I'd like to begin this evening. We'll put Connor right on the spot. Connor, tell us what your kind of immediate reaction with this film was walking out of the theater, and give us your favorite thing and your least favorite thing. Go right ahead.
Me?
Yes, sir.
So my favorite thing about this movie, and it's something that I don't really go to in superhero movies.
What?
It was a very you really start to see a lot of the nuances and the stuff that these actors are bringing to the table. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is great as Doctor Strange.
Is anybody else having Connor go in and out?
Role.
Yes.
Yeah. Connor is going in and out.
Connor, you're going in and out.
A role like this, and he disappeared to me. I thought he was great. And I think
I agree.
Connor may have to give his review in text. I'm not sure.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, you're fine now.
You're fine now. You're fine now.
No.
No. Keep going. Just don't get flustered. Just keep rolling. Just right where you were.
Chiwetel Ejiofor is the best actors in the business, and my favorite thing about the movie, though, was probably the choice type origin story with this kind of editing and pacing. I think that it hindered a lot of the both sides of what was going on, and no one thing was able to really rise to its peak potential.
Smarty Pants Tutoring says it would be funny if he was trashing the film in lag. Connor, we got about 70% of that, buddy.
You like Benedict Cumberbatch, you don't like That's an Origin Story, yes?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, Connor. We've got a little bit of an internet connection problem with you. Rasco, let's get your thoughts, sir.
Okay, so my favorite thing about this movie was probably that if you compare it to some of the other Marvel movies that are the first of their characters, I guess, independent series. So like the first Iron Man, the first Captain America, the first Guardians, the first Thor. What I like about this movie is that Iron Man and Captain America kind of have the same issue where the ending has some story issues and some just like logic issues where you're not exactly sure why certain things are happening and what certain people know and why certain things have to happen the way they do. Whereas I think Doctor Strange, its ending might be the strongest part. It's got a really smart ending where it doesn't just come down to a big generic light beam in the sky. It's actually Doctor Strange actually uses his wits. So I actually really liked the ending of this. I think it's probably one of the smarter endings of one of the Marvel movies, especially for like the first film for each character. And then I'd probably say my least favorite thing with this movie was the humor didn't always land with me. And from what I've been hearing, it's kind of like the humor that didn't work for some people is the stuff that worked for me. And the stuff that didn't work for me is the stuff that worked for a lot of other people. So I don't really know, but we can get into that later. That's my favorite and least favorite thing, probably.
No, that's interesting. The levity does seem to be really hit and miss, and we'll talk about that. And there's going to be a lot of taste issue stuff with people. I think Guardians affected the script a lot. I guess I'll go ahead and go real quick. I usually go last. I'll go ahead and go. My favorite, first of all, if you saw how we felt about, I absolutely adored this film the first time I saw it, or I should say, just had such a good time with it. And the more I thought about it, I had some issues, of course, and I at this point I think it's kind of maybe a middle of the road Marvel film. I put it above Ant-Man, but just slightly. And my favorite thing about this has got to be Dormammu. I thought he was well. First of all, I just laughed out loud, and not like in a good way, when the loop starts, and he like third loop or so, he goes, "What is happening?" And instantly Dormammu became my favorite villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think the deal with Dormammu is he's the closest we're ever going to get to Galactus in this world. I love Galactus. I'm really upset that Marvel doesn't have the rights to him. And when they started talking about earlier on Dormammu having insatiable thirst and wanting to gobble up all the planets. He wants to do it for different reasons, of course. But I was like, oh, he's Galactus. This is fantastic. They took Dormammu and Galactus and put them together, and he is as much fun as Galactus. I loved him. It was great. And the special effects and stuff there are awesome. And of course, I got lots of other character things to talk about and stuff. Mordo is inspired. We'll talk about that. But now I'm looking at people in the comments talking about what I just said. That's not to say that we can't still have Galactus if they get the rights back. But anyway, my least favorite thing right now, I don't want to steal Rasco's because I had some especially second time around, I had more humor issues. But my big thing is I noticed, again, second time around, a lot more conveniences. We're built a little bit on a couple of major plot conveniences that. And exposition conveniences, weirdly enough. The main one is the way that the Eye of Agamotto is introduced, and also the way Doctor Strange learns about the missing pages of the Book of Cagliostro is too easy. But again, we might get into some of that stuff. So yeah, easy things I had some issues with. Let's hear from the Curious Low.
All right. I've only seen this once, so I don't know it as well as you guys do. But I did see it on Saturday, so it was perhaps a little bit, I don't know, more recent. I really liked it. I would agree that it's sort of middle of the road for me. Certainly not the worst, but definitely not the best Marvel movie that we've seen. I think my favorite thing, which is kind of the thing that I see almost everybody talking about, but I really was just blown away by the visuals. I think they were gorgeous and inspired and crazy at points, but I really got into them, and I loved how it gave this movie its own distinct feel, and specifically Doctor Strange's powers their own distinct feel as opposed to everybody else in the Marvel Universe, because everybody can sort of mush together, especially in the Avengers movies, in regards to what their powers do, and that kind of from the outside, everybody's just punching everybody. So adding a character that has some slight variation on that, I think is good for this universe. So yeah, favorite thing, definitely visuals. Least favorite thing, I think, would be the pacing. Specifically in the middle of the movie, there's a couple times where there's some like time cuts that don't really make sense, and suddenly we're just like months later, or like, and I don't necessarily mean that there needs to be some sort of like, you know, training montage, but they definitely do a lot of time jumping that doesn't quite make sense to me. And I just think the middle of the movie is my least favorite part, because there's also that scene where he's sparring with Mordo, and it's just nothing but exposition. He's like, oh, well, let me tell you about all these things because reason, and we're just going to explain everything to you, and this is your bad guy. Have fun fighting him. Like, it felt very forced. Loved the beginning. I loved all the intro stuff. Big, giant commercial for, you know, PSA for not texting and driving. And then the ending I thought was spectacular. I completely agree with you, Cap, that first Marvel superhero to annoy his supervillain into submission, and I think that's spectacular. And so funny and works really well. So yeah, again, visuals are definitely the best. I think the middle just had some weird things. I still definitely enjoyed the movie, had a lot of fun with it, but I don't think the script was as well hammered out as we've seen from Marvel.
Hey, Eric.
Okay, so I like this movie. I'm going to be the odd man out here. I have a lot of issues with this movie on a lot of different levels. I liked it much more the first time. The second time I saw it, Cap said something in our How We Felt About that I kind of resisted, and then seeing it a second time I really resist, which was imaginative. I don't think there's much imagination going on in this film. We have a bunch of sorcerers and spellcasters, and we're not levitating or taking things apart and putting them back together. We're making whips and swords, and Mordo's got this staff, the staff of the Living Tribunal. And we're told it's got this magic in it that's so powerful that a human can't contain it. It's a multi-part staff. Like, the magic stands in for a chain. It doesn't do anything. And that's how most of the magic was in this movie for me. Best part, I think, is Mordo. I think Mordo is absolutely has the potential to be one of the best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think he's set up really well. I think the whole structure of Doctor Strange's world is set up well. And my least favorite part, and I know no one's going to agree with me. I know Cap's going to roll his eyes because I've been talking about this. Oh boy, I did not like the mirror dimension. I think it works great for the big set piece near the end of the film, but we use that kaleidoscope effect so much. By the time we get to the big set piece, I'm not super impressed. And then when we get to the end and everything's going in reverse, that should be really cool. It just felt too similar to the kaleidoscope thing. I feel like they had this one really cool idea, and we just kept using that again, because this is how we do it. This is how we do kaleidoscope vision. Oh man, I really wish there was more imagination in this film. I wish there was more variation in this film. But I do enjoy the film. I thought it was fun.
Go ahead, Rasco.
Okay, I kind of disagree with Eric on the magic in this film, because I just watched an interview with Scott Derrickson, the director, and I loved what he said about what his approach to the magic in this movie was, because he pretty much was like, I wanted to get away from this idea of magic where you say something and then something happens in like reaction to that, because he wanted to create a new visual language for how we convey magic in movies, at least for this movie, at least. And so he just thought that rooting it in gestures and stuff like that just kind of spoke to a new language that we previously hadn't really thought of magic as being this kind of like tactile, physical type thing. We think of it more as like, I say this and then this thing happens over here. So I actually really like the magic in this movie, but that's just me.
That's not my issue. I like all the hand stuff. I like the visual, how we represent magic. I just thought we were really uninspired with how we used magic. We just kind of used it to make weapons and to make everything kaleidoscopy.
Okay.
I can't say kaleidoscope without doing this motion.
So can I throw out my argument? Because
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Eric and I...
I'm allowed to be wrong. That's okay.
No, I'm just saying, Eric and I live together, and so we've already had this conversation, but we'll have it again for your viewing pleasure. Here's my issue with wanting to see a whole lot more variation with spells. Like, I think there's enough to a degree because of the reason we can't do more in the narrative, which is breaking the natural order. You're not supposed to do any more than they're doing, Eric. Now, you hadn't brought this up to me before. I like your argument about the artifacts being imbued with magic, and that it's the living tribunal. It's a thing that came from the living tribunal. If you know anything about Marvel, and it's just a staff. I hadn't thought of that. That's a really good point. But I'm not with you on the kaleidoscope vision because that's what I like the idea of the mirror universe looking like that, or the mirror dimension. That's what it would look like. I mean, it's mirrors. But it's not kaleidoscope. It's reflection.
But I don't like that we just keep using that one effect. Like when he gets his trip, when she shows him all the universes, that's what the entire second half of this movie should look like. That's the movie I wanted when I came in. I wanted that.
That's
the movie.
You also complained to me the other day about like repeated images, which is just all over Doctor Strange comics.
Yeah, like, well, that was just more into the. So we have this kaleidoscope thing where everything is repeated infinitely.
Yeah. And
then when we do the trippy stuff, we have a bunch of repetition. I like it there. It's a little bit more varied, but I was like, but it's also repetition.
But I think my point of the film itself being imaginative still stands. Because I'm not talking as much about what exactly we're doing with the magic visually as I am our characters coming up with things
well, the third act is one of the best of all the Marvel films.
But these characters like being witty and smart about what they're doing. I think there is a lot of imagination in, say, the scene where he fights the guy in the astral plane. That's really fun. And like knocking things around when she can't see what they're doing and all of that.
About that scene.
Okay, but I'm just saying that I wasn't sitting there going, nobody's got any ideas in this movie.
I kind of felt like the one big idea they had was the mirror dimension, and they just kind of kept using that the whole movie. I mean, that's just my opinion.
It's also
nobody agrees.
It's also our introduction to time travel in this world, right?
Yeah. It's a bigger issue if it never gets crazier than this.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Yes, the sequel has to go weirder.
Yeah.
But I think the mid-credit scene is a promise that it will.
Yeah.
Because Doctor Strange is already doing a lot more with his powers, and he's not that concerned. I love his gloves. Oh boy,
so cool.
This is one of the only movies where I've seen this like constant build-up of, hey, look, now he gets his cape and now he gets his gloves, and I like really bought into it. I didn't think that was lame.
We're put together in pieces.
It's Ghost Rider done right. My wife always complains about the Ghost Rider thing, where she's like this kind of origin prequel thing of, look, now he got his chain, and now he got this thing. Yeah. Connor, can you hear us? I want to try to bring Connor into this, but I think his internet connection might be bad enough that
he looks like he's frozen.
He's in the mirror dimension.
Yeah, he's in the mirror dimension. Yeah, exactly.
He's in a time loop.
So let's jump to and we can get back to magic stuff later, but we're already half an hour in. Let's jump to the origin itself. How did you guys feel about how his personality and temperament are handled? Like I said in the rewind I did last week for the animated Doctor Strange film, people tend to compare comic book Doctor Strange to movie Tony Stark. Was it too close to that? The way we're talking about his arrogance, the way we're playing that, is he a watered-down version of Tony Stark? Is he just Tony Stark again, or did we get away from that?
Honestly, I feel like he's more, I don't know if believable is the right word, but a little bit more like jerks that I've actually met, as opposed to Tony Stark, who I think is very Hollywood and movie-ified. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, movies can certainly do crazy things to, bring us in. But I think that Stephen Strange is a little bit more realistic in that sense, in that he's very arrogant, but not in like a quippy sort of way, like Tony is. So I really bought into it. I hated him, but in a good way. Like, I wasn't like bored by the movie and hated the movie, but I was like, this guy's a jerk. And I want him to fail, and I want him to like see what's happening. Whereas like with Tony Stark, I was kind of like, yeah, he's a jerk, but who cares? Like, he's funny and awesome, and I just want to like watch him make his Iron Man suit. I don't know. It felt very different to me.
That's interesting because Eric had a hard time getting a read on him.
Yeah, I think he's too likable at the start.
Oh, really?
I'm
with Lo, where I think the difference for me is that Tony Stark's arrogance and his quippiness is a charming aspect of his personality most of the time, and sometimes he can go overboard. This is like Doctor Strange. His arrogance it's actually like a flaw in his character. Like, it's a thing that holds him back as a person, is the fact that he values his raw ability and intellect more than anything else. And he also judges everybody else on what they can do. Like, he's just like, you've ruined me. Just like after his doctors have done surgery on his hands, first thing he's just like, you've ruined me. And it's just,
I could have done better.
Yeah,
possibly.
And I could have done better. Yeah, exactly. I didn't feel like I was seeing what people were talking about until after he crashed his car, because the guy who almost let the guy with the bullet in his head die kind of deserved everything Doctor Strange threw at him, I think.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's what makes him a little bit more realistic than Tony Stark is, because he is the type of person that you've dealt with before. He is that teacher that's not going to, like, talk sweetly to you just because you messed up. He's going to, like, tell you how it is, brush you aside, fix your mistakes, and then make you feel really bad that you messed up. And I appreciated that, I guess. I guess that's more what I mean by the realisticness of his jerkiness. I'm trying really hard not to swear. It's difficult. So I just keep using the word jerk.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
But I don't think he's a jerk. Like, I mean, he is a little bit in the way that everyone is a little bit. He's really jokey. We're laughing with him the whole time. He has one scene with Christine where he crosses a line, but he's at the end of his rope. Like, anyone could flip like that at that moment. I'm gonna put up like a call to Marvel and movies in general, but Marvel in specific. Can I get an adult in a movie? Is that okay? Can I have someone that's not just always joking, always? Someone needs to be the adult in these situations, and they're not in any of these movies.
That's interesting. Yeah. I could make the argument that, everybody's quippy in Marvel stuff. Like, the comics have exactly the same thing. You go back to
Strange wasn't until more recently, was he? I never thought of him as a quippy guy.
Maybe even with the Stan Lee stuff, it wasn't so much. And, of course, with the conversation you and I had the other day, of course, that was more Ditko than it was Stan Lee, at least in idea-wise and stuff. So, yeah, maybe you're right about that. Okay, I can see that. Because I was going to say, like, extreme personalities and stuff. But, no, I get what you're saying. I didn't think of that. It is certainly it's certainly a thing they do, a tactic that they use in keeping this mainstream and keeping everybody interested. So, I know you said when we were talking the other day and in the how we felt about that, this could have been stranger and even bordered a little bit more in a horror direction. Of course, we haven't really had.
And we got a horror director, so I kind of thought maybe we might be going there.
Yeah,
but there's no real mention of like the occult or anything in this. I imagine that's because we don't want the Harry Potter thing. We don't want people going, oh, well, that's black magic. Or we're not going to go see that.
Here's a great comment. That dope channel. Would Eric really argue that Captain America isn't an adult in these movies?
I mean,
I wouldn't agree with that.
I don't agree with Eric in general, but I would say
I want that to be the subtitle of this Spoilercast.
I don't agree with Eric.
I don't agree with Eric in general. I mean, like, about this. As far as Doctor Strange goes.
Ever!
But I hate Eric. The cat's out of the bag.
I always suspect.
I always thought that might
You
be
guys
the case.
had that Patreon video where you just talked about how much you hate Dan Torrey. Let's turn this into a live stream about how much we
I'm
hate
down
Eric.
for that.
It'll
That
be
sounds
great.
fun. Yeah. Mhm.
Eric Spoilercast.
But I would say that Cap is also kind of a child. I mean, the whole like language thing.
Oh,
Not
Captain
you.
America.
The whole like language thing is ridiculous. And no. I think I kind of agree with Eric in that there are a lot of real adults in the Marvel universe. Everybody is sort of like a character.
The thing with Cap is, I think Cap would be if he never went into ice. But the way that we make him kind of a child is that he doesn't know anything about the modern world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just heightened. I think there's levity in real life, and people often, depending on their personality traits, will laugh and make jokes to diffuse tense situations. I think it's just we heightened that because it's a comic book thing, and because we want to get that mainstream audience on board with us. I think Doctor Strange is maybe one of, if not the hardest sells they've had. Having said that, I think that the humor does go too far in some places.
I don't think
humor was weird.
It's just ill-placed.
And I don't even think
was
so much
weird.
Doctor Strange. I think more visual slapstick stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Which first time around, I got myself into people are going to complain about this place, and then I saw it a second time and I went, I see why people are probably going to be complaining about this. Like I expected backlash, so I was just kind of taking it in. And second time I was like, yeah, some of the cape smacking people around stuff just goes on too long.
Doesn't work a lot. When it goes in his face, oh man, do I not think
I don't like
funny.
that. That's the main one I don't like.
Yeah, I don't like when the cape wipes his face. I thought it was hilarious though when the cape attacked a guy's face though, like. Because that's one of those things, I liked that because that's one of those things where I sit there and then sometimes I'll be like, technically the cape could have done that to save his life. And then when it did that, I was like, that's exactly what I would have thought the cape could have possibly done to save his life there. And so I thought that was really funny. But I agree that when it wipes his tears, that ruined that moment for me.
Yeah, there were a couple jokes that went a little too far. Like, I liked when he called Wong Beyonce, because he had already mentioned, I liked that joke, but then when Wong is later listening to Beyonce, I was like, no, that's too far. Because it worked on a quippy level, but the music was just like, no, this isn't Guardians of the Galaxy. You don't need to put, pop music. And you already have a trait from the main character that he likes, has a photographic memory and likes, talking about music in the operating room.
Guy. He just knows facts.
One of the things Eric and I said.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
One of the things Eric and I said in private conversation was, how come everybody's kind of unique quirk or hobby has to be pop music in these movies? We do this a lot. And I never thought of it until this one, because this one might just be the bridge too far, because it's not that he's a music buff, it's that he is, like Eric said, a trivia buff. He has a photographic memory. I would have loved it if he also did that with movies and books and some other stuff. The fact that it kept coming back to music, it starts to feel, and I don't even think this is probably intentional. They might not even be thinking about the other movies when they're doing that. But when you stack them all together, and these are all in one big long franchise, it feels like a crutch we keep going.
Now, I think Benedict Cumberbatch is inherently likable.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot why the Sherlock show works, is I think on the page that character might not be likable, but he's just an inherently likable guy. So some of the jokes that I wouldn't necessarily love, like the Beyonce thing. When he just walks in and goes, I need a book, Beyonce. In my brain, that's not funny, but he delivers it, and I think it's funny.
See, but that part was funny. It was the fact that Wong was listening to Beyonce later that I didn't get. But I was also in a theater that was full of people that were losing their minds because they thought the movie was so funny. And I just kept looking at my husband like, am I taking crazy pills? These people are laughing louder than I've ever heard anybody laugh in a theater. And it was a full theater, and everyone was laughing. And I was just like, this is not that funny.
But
I want to suggest, I'm sorry, let me say this real quick. I want to suggest that is partly because of Guardians, of people going, some just mainstream movie watchers going into these hoping they will be funny and not too ultra super serious and heavy. And I think folks might have found, because I had exactly the same thing, Lo, people laughing really hard at things where I was like, that's not that funny. It's okay, but it's not that funny.
Yeah.
But hold on, let me finish this point. My thing is, I think those people were relieved that it wasn't harder to that they found something familiar in it, that they didn't find it alien, and that subconsciously makes those things funnier to them.
Well, I was gonna say there is a scene that we saw twice that both times got almost no reaction, where there was a joke. There's a joke. But what I was gonna say with the Beyonce,
you noticed it this time.
I did notice. I mentioned for it this time. There was one person that laughed. But the thing with the Beyonce,
and he was wrong,
and the joke, is I did think it was weird that when he goes to one name people, right? He goes Adele, Eminem, Beyonce. Everything we know about him musically, you would think he would go Prince, Sting.
Good point.
Older references. That, like, it was still funny.
He said Bono.
He
did say Bono.
He did say Bono.
Yeah, Bono. That was funny.
But anyway.
But yeah.
Rasco, did you think this movie was funnier than Lo did? I'm getting the sense that you were laughing as hard as the audience that she thinks is
some stuff. I just was surprised people were laughing so hard.
Was Rasco sitting next to you, Lo, laughing?
Yes.
I'm just calling him out. It's my prerogative. Go ahead. Defend yourself, Rasco.
No.
Explain why it's not funny stuff is funny.
Yeah, explain that to me.
There were things that were not funny that actually made things funnier. I didn't think it was funny at all when he starts listing off the names. And he's like Beyonce, or he's like Drake, Bono, and then he keeps going on. He's like Eminem. I didn't think that was funny. But then I thought it was hilarious when he's like, I used to be funny. And I was like, that's funny, because that wasn't funny. And then I laughed at him making fun of how he's not funny anymore. And so then every time something wasn't funny, I would laugh.
I didn't catch that until the second time. That's a great line. Let's get off the humor for a minute, unless somebody has something burning they've got to say about that.
Well, I want to talk about the one joke that didn't work both times we saw it.
Oh, okay.
Just to note that one joke.
Yeah, sure.
When he puts isosceles in the
his name is Chrysophilus. Okay, he's not a triangle.
Actually,
I know he's a little obtuse, but he's not a triangle.
There is no F in his name. It's Chrysophilus.
Oh, it's Chrysophilus. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like isosceles.
Hey, you kept throwing me off.
I know. I kept
because you kept making him a trigonometry term.
And when he puts him in that thing, the like man holder thing,
that's his best part of his performance, is that he's able to do that whole thing. I mean, think about it. That is some physical acting right there.
Yeah.
That whole thing?
It wasn't like that. If you haven't seen the movie, it's nothing like
pretty
that.
I'm in a chair!
But
wearing headphones. I can't go that far.
Bust out of the chair. Do it right.
It's 2 or 3 times.
Go ahead.
It's 2 or 3 times that Doctor Strange threatens to put that mouthpiece back on him. He's like, he keeps talking, and then Doctor Strange is like, okay, I'm going to put this back on you. And no one laughed. Every single time, except for the second time we saw it, one person laughed, and he goes, "Oh, I'll put this back on." And I think that's interesting that joke just didn't play at all twice. That was all I had on that.
Yeah.
It worked both times I went to see it. So.
Oh, okay. Cool.
We went twice, and no one laughed at that, except for that one guy.
Welcome back, Connor.
Welcome back. You've never heard that before. That's Connor, not Connor. It's Connor.
I'm sorry I used the normal figure of speech.
Welcome.
I've been traveling through astral dimensions, and I'm finally back. Oh my god.
Welcome back, Connor.
Yeah. At least I
See,
hope.
you did too.
Did your fingers grow little baby fingers?
Oh my god.
Did those fingers grow even babier fingers?
Did you grow out of your own cornea?
Oh my god.
I love that bit.
I couldn't decide if that was creepy, weird, gross, or cool, and so that really worked for me with the hands.
I'm surprised by how uncreepy I found it, because usually like body horror is like my least favorite thing on the planet, but like the hands growing hands didn't freak me out at all.
My experience was like, whoa.
It's a good reenactment of your.
My experience was, this is what I want. I hope the rest of the movie is exactly this. And then it wasn't.
So not to get too far into that whole thing again, but I will say this, Eric. I will be disappointed with that if a sequel doesn't take it a lot farther.
That's fair.
It's an introduction to that stuff. I get why you wouldn't want to take that any farther than they did. You and I have a disagreement about this in the way we do Deadpool, where I get your argument, but I understand why they don't go any farther with the less mainstream,
the darker
more more disturbing, unsettling stuff that would make you not like that character. We have that same thing here with Doctor Strange and the weirdness of that mythology. Let's go ahead and talk about some supporting characters and villains and stuff. Of course, Wong is brilliantly cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was really impressed with him, and I thought the funniest bit in the whole movie was him cracking up at the end. I thought that totally worked.
I agree.
I agree. My thing though is with in regards to the humor, I thought that was a nice payoff to a nice setup. The stuff with Wong, though, with like the one named Joe, like Beyonce and Eminem.
We already talked about all
never
that.
mind. Okay.
Well, he wasn't here.
No, I know. I'm sorry, but we've got to move away from the humor and get to some character stuff. So Connor's checking off the I did not like that part block. But I think Wong might have some real range. I don't think he's just a funny character who's no nonsense and that's why he's funny. I think there's potentially a lot to that guy. And I like him as the midpoint, the kind of solid rock place between the Ancient One and Doctor Strange and Mordo before Mordo has his shift.
Well, and even though he is as firm as he is, he's still more malleable than Mordo. When Doctor Strange starts reversing time at the end, he's like, I know I'm breaking the natural laws, and Mordo's like, well, don't stop now. Or not Mordo, Wong is like, don't stop now. And that's the moment where Mordo's like, oh, this is not okay.
I'm out.
Yeah. I love that.
Sorry,
Eric,
I'm laughing at the chat.
Eric, take us someplace.
Let's go to Mordo.
Let's go to Mordo, shall we? Go ahead.
I think he's great. I mean, he's the best Sinestro we've ever gotten on screen. He's also kind of the origin story for his character in Serenity, but he's great. He's wonderful. I can't wait to see more of him. And I really like him. I think he's kind of the MVP hidden gem of this movie is that he's just solid, just the whole movie.
And he's one of the things I thought we might go too far with the origin. Was glad we didn't. I was
glad he didn't become the bad guy at the end.
I thought we might go there, and I was surprised that the bad guy that we do have, while a little plot devicey, certainly, there's more to him, and his argument is more interesting than some of the other Marvel villains. He feels like the bad guy in Guardians done right to me.
Yeah. Well, and Isosceles is
it's his name now.
He's
telling you how to pronounce it. I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to let you keep. It will drive people insane, and I'm just going to let that happen.
Isosceles is also, I think, similar to Ronan, but with a little bit more dimension. He is not an incredibly nuanced character, but he's complex enough, and we understand him enough. And you know, it's I can't think of the actor's name off the top of my head, but I like him in Hannibal. He was good in Casino Royale. He's a good actor.
And importantly, like him being in the movie makes the Ancient One more interesting because he calls into question a lot of the things that she's already told us, and so you start to second guess her. So yeah, that's why I like him in the movie.
And she creates that villain with good intentions. Yeah. You've got I love that. Like, this watch is better for me on a second viewing in a lot of ways, because you've got that bit in the opening where he calls her a hypocrite, and she is. But you also kind of somewhat appreciate why she feels the need to do what she does, although I don't know why her living so long is as important as she thinks it is.
And the way that Mordo finds out is a little contrived, where for no reason she has that symbol for 5 seconds.
I wasn't sure what that was about.
But this is the most likable I think Tilda Swinton's ever been. And I like Tilda Swinton as an actress, but she always plays unlikable people.
Moral ambiguity. She is really typecast here. This is very much a Tilda Swinton role. Somebody thought, okay, I know the Ancient One is usually a dude, but they're looking at another page. That's Tilda Swinton, and
just like in Constantine.
They just went, yeah, exactly. They just went after that. Yeah, she plays gender bent, morally ambiguous, fascinating characters that turn out to ruin people. That's what she does. This is going to sound like a really silly point. But I mentioned this to you the other day. I was impressed with her, with what she looked like bald.
Yeah.
After about a second and a half, I stopped even thinking about it.
Well,
it
and she's
looks
got
so natural.
Scars, and I like that those don't have an origin. That's just a choice to have scars on her head. Although, if she's bald because of those scars for some reason, I'm not going to like it.
I'm so sick of origins for losing hair.
Or just choosing to be bald.
Yeah,
some
it's
people
okay.
do that.
If you want to shave your head, do it. It's cool. Now, she clearly just doesn't grow hair anymore. I think it's probably she's lived long enough she can't grow hair.
That might be. All of her hair has grown out of her body.
I just thought of that. Yeah. But no, she's fascinating. You have a bit of a reversal of what you have with most superhero things, where often it's a bad guy who is all-powerful, thinks they deserve to rule the world, trying to break the natural order to get further than they should be allowed to go, and the good guy trying to protect the natural order. This is the flip of that, and the argument is really interesting. This is when we get to Mordo as the main antagonist. This is a bad guy with an argument. It's hard not to agree with him to a point. He is Magneto again. It's cool. Not that he's about the same things Magneto is, but it's that same thing where you totally can see where he's coming from.
Yeah, I was getting major Cap and Bucky vibes near the end there, especially with the final scene. Just like looking forward to the sequel of these two characters that have been close in the past. It's an interesting angle to put for a hero and a villain, and I'm okay with it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I really liked how his whole point kind of came down to, by the end, he's not like a moral relativist, whereas the Ancient One is, and so he finds that she has no principles that she sticks to, and so he can't take that lack of principle, and that kind of feeds into the whole idea of the sorceress perverting reality and stuff like that. Is he needs rigid structure, and he doesn't have that anymore when the Ancient One actually turns out to be somewhat morally ambiguous.
Yeah, he and the main bad guy in this, because I'm not gonna say his name because he'll just keep saying isosceles. But
just call him Mads. Just call him by his actor's name.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen.
They both are in an interesting and curious way, kind of intentionally simple-minded, right? Where they're looking for the easy way. This is really interesting. They're looking for the easy way out, kind of, but
there's no easy way out.
But usually, when someone is doing that, when a villain is doing that, it's again destroying natural order. It's going against nature, looking for the easy way out. And in this, it's in trying to preserve it, at least with Mordo. But I just think it's interesting that ultimately they're kind of simple-minded because they won't, especially Mordo, he won't look at the complexities of things. He's looking for that one rule that'll always work, and he's about that one principle. But the problem is when you get to the end, what would you do to stop?
Well, you wouldn't be in that place if nobody was perverting.
That's right.
The natural order. You wouldn't be there.
And the Doctor Strange argument is, well, that's not my fault.
Yeah. We are there, and we have to deal with it now.
Yeah, we have to deal with it now. So, yes, you can blame her to a degree, or maybe entirely, for his getting there, and for Dormammu almost escaping. But once we're there, how do you just let it happen because that's natural order? I don't know. And it's an interesting argument. Isosceles. Stop it. Well, like I said earlier, I think okay. So the two big things I thought we would do in this that I really like that we didn't get to yet. One is Mordo doesn't become the big bad guy at the end. The other is Doctor Strange doesn't become Sorcerer Supreme yet.
Yeah.
And I really thought he would. And I love that we're not there yet. Now, he might be when he's talking to Thor, because I'm not sure how much time has passed.
Yeah, can
That's
we talk
the thing
about
we
the
should talk
timeline
about
at some point?
Yeah, I don't know when this movie takes place. I need help here,
It is
guys.
post-Avengers.
Yeah,
In
because they
Winter
mentioned
Soldier,
the Avengers. And the Avengers Tower is visible.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's in Winter Soldier, we reference Stephen Strange. I don't know if that's a continuity error or if we're supposed to... Because, I mean, this movie could start post-Avengers, and he could be there for years. Because I paid attention when he comes back, Christine says, "You've been gone like a long time." We don't get
He doesn't
years,
say
months.
Yeah, there's no
There's a good line.
Hours,
There's a good line
unit
though.
of time.
This puts it into perspective. There's a one line, and if you take it kind of literally, then the ancient, he says, like, how do I get from here to there? And she's like, well, how did you learn how to, do brain surgery? And he's like, study and practice, years of it. And then she's like, well, yeah, that's how you're going to get from here to here. Like, this is how you're going to learn magic. So it's got to be years. Otherwise, that line doesn't make any sense.
I don't agree with that at all. Because what we're ultimately talking about with that is Sorcerer Supreme, not just learning how to do magic. He's not taking years to get where he gets to by the end of the film, I don't think.
No, because he's not at the master surgeon level as he is of being a sorcerer.
That's what we're talking about in that scene. Keep in mind that when he goes back to the hospital, everybody's in exactly the same places as they were before. That guy hasn't aged at all. The guy at the beginning who almost left the bullet in the guy's head. It might be months. There's no way it's any longer than that.
Does he have the gray in his hair from the beginning of the movie? Because I don't think
No.
he does.
Yes.
And they use
he
that
does.
as like...
has a little
He
bit.
does?
I think
I
he
did
gets a little
not
bit
notice it at
more
all.
later, but he does have it a little bit.
I thought maybe the idea was he's getting it through using magic. Now I don't know why nobody else has it. Honestly, I can't take much stock in the hair thing. I think that's just he's supposed to have it, and it doesn't make sense for him to have a full head of that at the beginning.
Well, even if
we give it to him as it goes along.
Even being years wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because we still get him referenced to Winter Soldier. That doesn't fix that problem. Like, it's post-Avengers, pre-Winter Soldier, but it takes years.
Yeah, I still think you're taking way too much.
What's the context of them mentioning Stephen Strange in that?
Hydra mentions all of the people that they're watching, and they say Tony Stark and some other people and Stephen Strange.
Right.
These are important, dangerous people that need to be watched.
Yeah, it's not that they're dangerous. It's that they're dangerous to Hydra. It's that they're but you could put anybody in that list who is well known and really good in their field. I think you're taking way too much stock in that.
Yeah, it could just be. I mean, I'm not sure
be
why a surgeon would be dangerous, but that could be why.
Because of the way he's changing his field, okay, so the people in that list are dangerous to Hydra because they won't cooperate and they're geniuses. Is the idea in that context? Doctor Strange's name is in that because they're going to make a Doctor Strange movie. They're not thinking about any farther than that, Eric. And the fact that it's in that stream does not mean that he's already wearing the cape. I resist that. I resist anybody in Winter Soldier being familiar with magic. So I really don't think that he's wearing the cape and gloves and stuff by Winter Soldier. But I also can't tell you when exactly the movie takes place. It isn't necessarily the most recent thing, and you can always tell, except for Guardians, with every other movie.
I think that they've specifically stated that Guardians 2 is the only Marvel movie where, like, the ending of the time that you're in pretty much, like, by the end of the film, like the third act, where that's like Guardians 2 takes place only a few months after Guardians 1, whereas everything else is like chronological. So like
Ends in
Guardians
the year it's
2
released.
has already happened.
And Iron Man 2.
How much time is that?
This gets complicated. Eric and I have been talking about this, especially once you start looking at the Netflix shows. It really breaks down. I don't want to get too far into all of that. But suffice it to say, I don't think any of us can be sure what movies have happened beyond Avengers with this.
Yeah, Vision says that it was like he actually mentions the 8 years, right? In Civil War. Yeah. Doesn't Vision bring that up? So, I mean, I don't know. Is there how soon into that does Avengers happen?
Well, see, here's the problem.
Again, I don't want to get into all this right now.
Okay, we'll talk about it after the video, Rasco.
Yeah, we need to talk about some more Doctor Strange stuff.
Tonight.
Like how much he shaves in this movie. He shaves like 800,000 times, or like 5.
I counted 3.
One of the 2. They put way too much stock on him shaving. It's like they were just like, is he gonna have the goatee? Like every single time.
No, I don't think it's that.
It bothered me for some reason. I don't know why.
That's fair. That's part of it. It's kind of the go-to thing with men. With like, you can't make your digits work right. You're gonna cut yourself. I mean, that's why.
So we have him shaving once to establish. Look, he can shave like a normal person. Then we have the second time where he can't.
No, the first one is he. Oh no, you're right. He does early on, doesn't he?
And then the second time he goes to shave and his hands all shaking. And then the third time he's using an electric razor, which
they also have her shave him while he's still in the hospital.
Yes, they do.
That too.
Yeah, okay, so I don't know why that one's there. You're right. It is one too many. No, she's right. I mean, it's one too many. But I don't think it's to tease us about the goatee necessarily.
I know. It was just a silly thing that I noticed. It's really not that big of a deal.
Can we talk about the sling
But it got
rings?
us off our other subject.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't.
Okay,
He's on about the sling rings.
The sling rings are, of all of the things in this movie, I'm warping reality. Of all of the things in this movie, the sling rings are the one that feels the most like Hollywood movie. We don't trust our audience, and it becomes weird. Like every sorcerer has a sling ring. It's just the second you do magic, you get one of these. I feel like it makes more sense if that's like a teaching tool to make it easier when you're a learner. And so when the bad guy says, like, oh, you lost your sling ring, now you're stuck here, like...
Which, did we see that happen? Because I did not notice, and then all of a sudden he's like, you lost your sling ring, and I was like, he did?
I had the same thing loaded. He's like, you lost your sling ring, and I'm like, oh, when did that happen?
But then like later, he's like, oh, well, he doesn't have a sling ring. He's stuck there. It feels really weird that we have this one thing that everyone uses. Like, I feel like it should be like a learner's permit. Then.
I think so.
It helps you concentrate.
You're absolutely right. It's just a device to raise the stakes. It's so that you can get stuck in the mirror dimension and in other dimensions. Clearly, I think that's all solved if the Sorcerer Supreme can open dimensions without that,
and she can't.
And nobody else can. I think that would be that would immediately solve your problem. And they should have done that, I think. Somebody take us someplace else that we've not been yet.
I already took us to the shaving place. I don't know what else you want from me.
She did. Thanks. So I appreciate that contribution. I really like the love interest romance in this movie a lot. I agree.
Was it a love interest?
That's what I like.
It feels like it was like a past, like a I don't know, like an old flame.
Well,
it felt like
tell you what it is.
Yeah,
that's what I liked about it.
Didn't feel. I guess that's why I liked it too. Is that it didn't feel like a standard, just like they type of a thing.
That's why I said that. But they also kiss in the middle. So I mean, there's still interest.
She kisses his cheek.
There's a makeout.
No. She kisses. It looks like it is, and then you see her pull back, and she was just kissing his cheek.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not important, I don't think. But
I like.
There definitely is still some interest.
But I like that because this is not a movie that needs to get to the end where they're making out. I like that there's still some distance, and kissing his cheek is after the Ancient One died. Like, it's almost more of a friendship kind of thing.
And he's got a lot of work to do by the end of the movie. I really like that. He doesn't get the girl at the end. He's not Sorcerer Supreme at the end. As weird as it is, because we talked about this the other day too, but as weird as it is that he gets the Eye of Agamotto and he doesn't have it at the end, I like that because, the way he ends up getting it and using it is easy. But I like that not using it. We haven't said this yet. I'm actually really impressed that they made me buy how quickly he gets into magic, for the most part. But by the end, there are these things that he hasn't figured out how to do yet because, or that he with the eye that he refuses to do yet because he's learned that responsibility lesson and he's learned to give in to the magic instead of trying to control everything, and I think that's a really good object lesson for all that. So you and I talked a lot about how his having like an eidetic memory and being able to pick up magic real quick is believable, except they do that thing that the animated movie does that I don't like, which
and then everything like this always does. It's a Hollywood movie thing.
He seeks them out. Now, thank God he seeks them out and they don't come to him. I really like that. I like that he goes and finds them. But when he goes to them, he's just a guy who's trying to fix his hands, and of course, he has to be naturally adept at magic.
What I really like is if you remove that line, he's naturally adept at magic, for the same way that he's naturally adept at his chosen career and trivia. He's just a guy that picks things up really fast, and then they have to throw in a line where it's like, "Oh, you were born for the arts."
Yeah,
I don't need that. I like that he's just
in
of
that
his
accent.
own ability.
Oh, can I do an audience question here? We haven't done anything with the audience, but I like this question a lot. Anthony Cabrera, panel, can you guys talk about the possibility of bringing in the multiverse into?
Oh, you're really excited about this?
Yeah, into it, meaning multiple timelines or franchises, possibly. Yeah, that was the big thing I was stoked about.
What is Flo doing?
So excited! I'm excited for the
okay.
multiverse. You guys, this means that there is a possibility of a Spider-Gwen movie. You don't understand. Continue.
We gotta kill her off first, though. We gotta kill off regular Gwen first before we can do all that.
That's
We have to
okay.
go Peter before we can get Miles.
Yeah, but we know she's not in this first movie, so it's gonna be a while.
It's okay. I can wait.
This is the place where I will meet Eric in the middle on the whole using the same effect too much. We haven't talked about this yet. You were talking mostly about the mirror dimension. My thing was, there's a lot, and I think I figured some of this out maybe, but there's a lot of just moving buildings around for no reason.
Yeah.
And in the trailers, I thought we were looking at multiple dimensions.
Collapsing in on each other.
Yeah, especially because of the voiceover that's talking about different dimensions, and then that's not what we're looking at. So I'm really excited about the possibility for something like a what if movie for the Watcher. If they, I really wanted the Watcher to show up.
I guarantee,
and I don't think they have the rights to him.
I guarantee you, in a couple of years, not right now, maybe in Phase 3, once the zombie thing is picked back up, because right now it's kind of just Walking Dead, the zombie craze has died down a bit. When that picks back up, we will get a Marvel Zombies movie.
Surely. I mean, and it would just be so much fun to see some of these actors get to play weird, opposite, other versions. To not have to franchise things out, to have just one movie. Like, if that's popular, they'll make a sequel. But it would be really cool to just have, the one movie. It'd be cool if Marvel Cinematic did their version of Old Man Logan with some other character.
Yeah. Just make it Hawkeye.
Sure.
Old Man Clint. He hasn't gotten enough. I can wait to give him a movie.
Wait 20 years and let him get a little bit older, but yeah, it opens up so many possibilities, and that is really exciting. But that's the one place where I'll kind of meet Eric in the middle with that. I thought we were going to get to kind of see other dimensions in this, and we didn't. And I was
kind of hoping none of them look like ours. They're all non-Euclidean geometry kind of dimensions.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because
every single place he goes to is theoretically a dimension.
Yeah.
When he goes to the trip, and then when we go to the dark dimension, those are all different dimensions. They're just not alternate dimensions. I mean, they are, but
yeah, they're not like alternate to our own dimension.
Yeah. The only good excuse I can come up with for isosceles, that guy. The only good excuse I can come up with for that guy making all of for constantly moving around buildings and stuff. Like, there's the scene where he does the spell and he just stands there and he's doing that. In the church.
Which is usually what I'm doing when I'm saying
the only thing I can think of is he's practicing. Because that's not mirror dimension. At that point, I don't think. I think that's like real world. He's just messing with stuff.
Yeah, and then we throw in that he starts doing that in the real world.
And because you're not supposed to be allowed to do that, he wouldn't have had practice doing that when he was at Caratage. What is the name of that place?
Caratage?
Yeah, when he's there.
Something like that. Caratage?
I think it's Caratage.
Caratage is where There's camouflages everywhere. He could have practiced some of it, when he was in the mirror dimension, and the Sorcerer Supreme can do it. Some of the other people can do it, but he wouldn't have had any practice actually messing with matter in the real world. And so maybe he's just practicing.
And usually he uses it more logically than the Ancient One and than anybody else. Because like in that opening fight, the Ancient One just goes like this, and then the buildings start turning for no reason. He's flipping like the street on its side so they start falling.
Yeah.
He's using it a little bit more logically in that big set.
He makes it hard for Strange to get to.
Well, no, yeah. Like the reason they use that is they do that to make the surface on which you're fighting on harder. So you have to so in the Ancient One, when she does that in the beginning, she's like crushing people. Like if you look, there are like people that she's
there's like columns.
Yeah,
there's
and people are like getting crushed
spinning, and they're getting like ground.
Yeah, they use it to like
mincemeat.
They use it to like make a more advantageous place to fight, I guess. So I thought it was actually pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it.
I thought it was imaginative, Eric.
Well, I read imaginative, trippy, weird things, so I'm a little bit harder on this stuff.
I
read Joe Casey books. I'm sorry.
Fair. This is also not exactly my
Joe Casey books. I'm just kidding.
I actually do exactly what Lo just did every time he brings it up.
Look, I like Joe Casey. Leave me alone.
That's all he ever talks about. He's the only person I know that ever talks about Joe Casey. He's just constantly like,
I love Joe Casey so much.
So
read Wildcat Story Point out. All of you, do it now.
Somebody wanted us to talk a little bit more about the third act. And I don't have a lot else to say beyond echoing Rasco when he was talking about how nice it was, or maybe you said it too, how nice it was to get to the end of one of these and it's a mental game instead of a big giant drag out fight. It's the opposite of Iron Man.
Yeah. Everything I can, all the criticisms I can lob at this film, the ending is not one of them. They subvert the third act problem that a lot of the Marvel films have kind of had, and superhero films in general.
I think it's probably one of the best. I mean, it's definitely one of the best of those.
It's certainly probably maybe the smartest of all of the Marvel ones, just kind of clever.
And nobody's ready for it, too. And you can
when he goes, oh, time doesn't exist there, and he starts flying up, I don't know what he's planning.
Me either.
I'm surprised by it.
It's also set up really well earlier. With the talk of time loops and stuff. Sorry, Lo, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, like, it's not that I didn't realize that time was looping, but even when the second time that he comes up and says it again, I was like, wait a second, like, what's happening here? It wasn't until he said, like, what is happening, that I was like, oh, it's a time loop. And maybe I'm just slow on the uptake, but like, it really did catch me enough off guard that it took me to like the third time that he came through for me to be like, oh, okay, it's just going to keep happening over and over again. Because for whatever reason, I was like, okay, he went back in time, and this time he knows what he's going to do, so he's going to, like, anticipate it. That's where I thought it was going, but then it was just the time loop. I don't know.
As soon as, because time loops happen in about 15 Star Trek episodes, and I'm so used to them. I see them constantly. As soon as the time loop thing shows up, I expected a scene like this. What I didn't know was what exactly the spell was, and that's what I was really impressed with in that scene, where I was like, okay, what is Doctor Strange's endgame? What exactly is the bargain he wants to make with Dormammu? And I wasn't sure I would buy it. I was like, this is gonna be too easy. Like, one of the reasons I was so impressed was I kept questioning it. I was like, you can't beat this guy. And the whole point is, yeah, he can't beat that guy. He sticks him in that spell, and they'll just do that forever. And I also really like that as the big opportunity for change and resolution in his character arc. Not just that he's making the big sacrifice, but that he's learning the "it's not about you" lesson, where he is willing to not just sacrifice himself, but be killed over and over and over again and give up everything he's been about before. I think that's the big thing in the movie that really speaks to that character as opposed to anybody else that might be in that scene.
Well, and sorry.
Oh, I was just going to point out, just regarding this scene, my husband pointed out that throughout all the different times that we see him through that time loop, you can see that his shields are actually bigger. So it's like he's getting better at the magic as time goes on. I really feel like they're going to make a reference to that in the sequel and be like, well, I was, for hundreds of lifetimes was like locked in this battle and I had time to hone my craft.
Oh,
like he's like fighting Mordo.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it. So, and like I said, we've only seen it once, but I believe it, that he noticed that the shields looked a lot bigger the like 1 or 2 times that we saw them in that like time loop. But regardless of that, like you got to think that he was practicing his magic and all different types of magic throughout that time. And I imagine that it was hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of times that he went through that, because I don't think that he would give up after 15 times.
Yeah.
Here's a good question.
Wait. Can I go off of what she was saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So after we saw this movie, I made this joke about how this is a movie for hippies because it's super trippy and weird. Like this is if this came out in the 70s, like this would be huge. I think it's really interesting.
Nope, too mainstream.
That it is, but you know, I think it's really interesting that Doctor Strange is portrayed as a pacifistic hero, and that his conflict resolution at the end of the film, we do not have to kind of work around that and still make him an action hero. He solves it with his mind, without violence, and even with the bad guys, he gives them what they want. He doesn't just kill them or beat them up. He gives them exactly what they wanted. I think that's a really interesting choice. What'd you say, Rasco?
I said he ain't movie Picard.
Yeah, no, that's right. No, and I really like that too, where the bad guy gets everything he wanted at the end.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you want to live forever like this, go right ahead. And he's going to find out firsthand how bad of an idea that was. That Dope Channel I had another really good question, and I don't mean to just use his questions tonight, but he says, did we really believe that Strange went completely from wanting nothing to do with any of the magical battles to repeatedly dying over and over for the sake of everyone else in less than a day? I think
because of the conversation with the Ancient One.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And also, he would have died too. So, like, that's also a completely selfish reason to go into that.
But he wouldn't have died over and over and over again.
True.
He wouldn't have experienced the pain.
Yeah, the nice thing is it's not really selfish because he's not going to get to live. But at the same time, what's the difference? Yeah, no, I know what I think I know what Lo's thinking.
I just feel like it's not completely selfless that he does that. Like there is still something in it for him.
Well, reality,
he didn't go into that.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hope of it working, right? Because it's not a suicide play if he can convince Dormammu.
Yeah.
Because Dormammu's not going to want to be there forever. He's got this insatiable hunger.
But he does have
Galactus.
But he does have to experience death again and again and again.
Yeah.
Which, if he stayed on Earth, he would just die once.
And yeah,
he keeps dying.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy thing, I wouldn't think. Pain is an old friend. Like talking about the
yeah, and I guess this guy's point, because he's saying he thinks that's really selfish. I guess his point is that he doesn't think that he's learned enough yet to get to that point where he would do that. But I'm with you. I think the Ancient One conversation is really important.
Well, and
I think that's maybe my favorite bit of the whole movie, except for the stuff with Dormammu. I think that is really heartfelt and hit me in a place.
Well, yeah, I buy over the course of the film that he changes as a person as we see him kind of progress.
I'm sorry, Rasco, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, from that scene on, it's like one of the best third acts of a Marvel movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
I thought her slowing down time was really cool. It gave you the sense that she was that it wasn't an entirely selfless thing for her, keeping herself alive all that time.
Well, she says, even now I'm slowing down time just so I can watch it snow. And I think that's kind of saying, like, he's not being completely he could not be being completely selfless at the end of that film. You do the best you can with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Folks, we are a little over time. Why don't we go ahead and do some final thoughts real quick? Unless there's anything else really important that anybody wants to bring up that we haven't talked about.
This was my least favorite cameo from oh my god, his name just slipped my mind.
Oh, I love that cameo.
I thought it was really over the top and weird.
Oh, really? This was the one that was over the top?
Yeah. It was weird to me. I don't know why.
She's going to the strip club in Deadpool, but she can't handle this.
The strip club was fine. I don't know why this one was so weird to me, but I was just kind of like, I think it was maybe the way he said his line. I don't know.
He just laughed. I liked how reined in and reserved this was compared to other cameos he's had.
I don't know.
He just said
It
that's
felt
hilarious.
really weird to me.
And the book he was. I want to know what passage of that book he thought was
The
hilarious.
Doors of Perception.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I really liked the score. I thought I'd just bring that up.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yep.
Yeah, you don't notice it much while the movie's playing, but then leaving the theater, it sticks with you. Especially if you stick through the credits, it really sticks with you because of like the weird like stringy twang of it. It's really cool.
It's not a twang; it's harpsichord.
Okay.
And
You can't twang on a harpsichord?
well, yeah, you could, but it's not country; it's Celtic. But the
I got
Gosh,
Western.
Rasco, know your instruments.
Oh, sorry.
you got Western. You're
Yeah.
just wrong.
I kept saying Sergio Leone, or not Sergio Leone, that's the director, but I kept saying, I can't think of what his name is now, the guy that did the Dollars Trilogy score. That's what I was picking up from it, was kind of Western-y.
That can't be the intention with it. It was Kelly. With some of the beats, I can see why you're saying that, but go back and listen to the theme song from Constantine, and it's that stuff.
Okay.
I wish.
Which I really dig that score.
Yeah, me too. I like the orchestral and the harpsichord version, but I wanted more of the harpsichord. Rasco, I fell in love with it during the closing credits, and I said when we did how we felt about that it was an unintrusive score, and that I didn't notice it much. And second time around, I was like, oh no, this is actually a really, really good score. I started listening more for it. This is one I'll probably try to listen to on its own and see how it stacks up by itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Michael Giacchino, and he's hit and miss for me.
He's doing Rogue One.
Is
Is
he?
he cool?
I hope
Yay.
it's not too much like
I wasn't
Star Trek.
excited
Yeah,
enough for that
he's-
movie.
But he's got to be careful because he did Star Trek, and he's done Star Trek 3 times now, and you can hear some Star Trek in his Doctor Strange score. He didn't do Episode 9. Now, I mean, obviously Williams was going to get that if he was up for it, but when Abrams was announced, I was like, we don't want the Star Trek guy to do Star Wars. And now that we've had 3 of them, yeah, I don't know. But Lo, I don't know if you know this, Giacchino is the guy who scored Lost, and when you go to
I know.
When you go to a Star Trek score, I thought you knew that. When you go to a we've talked about that, but I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a Star Trek score, you can hear a bunch of that island stuff.
I know, I love it. But I also just I love the sound of the Lost soundtrack. So anytime it shows up in other stuff that he does, I'm like, oh, it's just like Lost.
You get 60 seconds into that 2009 Star Trek movie, and you're already hearing bum ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na,
the walking music.
ba-na-na-na. Like you're already hearing that. Okay, let's go into final thoughts. Rasco, what are your final thoughts, sir?
Final thoughts. For me, I kind of think that I feel that this movie is pretty on par with a lot of the ones of the Iron Man, so Iron Man 1, Captain America, First Avenger, Thor. This kind of ranks in that tier for me, I think, with the Marvel movies. And I'm definitely excited because I think that this is one of the characters that they have some of the most potential with moving forward. And he can really become one of the more center characters of the MCU if we decide to get away from Tony Stark and Captain America. I think Doctor Strange is going to be one of the characters to fill that void.
Well, and I heard early on when they started making this that Marvel hoped that this would be the new Iron Man.
Yeah, and I totally can see that.
Yeah, I can definitely see him filling in that role, and he's obviously got so much presence and power by the end
With his gloves.
It'd be cool if Black Panther fills the Captain America kind of void.
That would be cool.
forward.
Yes.
That would be cool.
I want to compare those characters. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Lo, what are your final thoughts?
I don't know that I have really anything more to say. I feel like I've talked more during this spoiler cast than I have during any spoiler cast ever. Because I typically tend to say almost nothing. Like I said, I really liked the visuals. Not even just the visual style, but just, I don't know, the camera work and stuff I thought was really good. But yeah, I don't have anything extra to say.
Eric.
I think this film's kind of middle of the road, run of the mill for Marvel. I think this is a really safe movie for Marvel. And really, I don't think it should have been. I think it should have been. It had the potential to be one of their most unique and special films. I think it's a little bit better than Ant-Man, a little bit worse than First Avenger. Still miles above the Thor films. But I liked this film. I probably sound like I didn't like this film. I liked this film. I just wanted more from it, but it's a good movie.
I think it's a really good setup film.
It's Doctor Strange, an introduction.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I called it the other day. That should be, if it had a subtitle, that sort of be an introduction. But having said that, I was impressed that it told as much stories as it did. It's a short movie, and it felt really short the first time in the theater. I'm with Lo that there are some pacing issues. I think it's more certain things being rushed than anything else. But I'm excited to see Doctor Strange roped in with other characters, and I'm excited to see the magic stuff getting worked into other movies. So that's the biggest thing I can say about it, is that I think we needed an introduction to this stuff because we were living in a world that was science fiction before it was fantasy. Now we've mixed those things like the comics do, I think in a really smart way. And I think you have to do a movie about that. I don't think you could introduce magic or I don't think you ought to anyway, probably introduce magic into an Avengers movie. And I think they did a good job of still making it kind of the same thing where it's like if you go far enough with science, it looks like magic. There's still problems.
It's kind of still the Thor thing where it's like we've called this spells for decades, but really the universe is a program, and we're just kind of
they tell us where it comes from. They tell us that it's energy that comes from other dimensions, and you're right. They say you figure out the building blocks, and it's like the Matrix. Once you understand how the rules work, you can bend them and mess with them. And I like the Infinity Stone thing. I mean, I like that we're working this into.
I like that it wasn't the MacGuffin. We didn't talk about this in either the.
Thank you.
It's a magic movie, and it's a superhero movie.
And it's not about everybody running after an artifact.
It's not about everybody running after an artifact. It's great. I applaud it for that.
And if Guardians 2 you'll be even more upset.
Yep.
Than you would have been because the other day he was like, I hope that's not about everybody chasing after a thing. And of course,
that voice.
These are pirates.
When I'm off camera, that's the voice I use.
That's what whenever he's complaining, that tends to be the way he's like, oh my God, I really loved the nice guys. Oh, that's not even a complaint. That's what he talks like.
Ninjas.
Ninja. I hate ninjas. Okay. Anything else? I guess everybody went. Yeah, we lost Connor.
Great hand acting.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. It's gonna be like I'm already too overly dramatic with my hands. This movie just makes it worse. Everybody, thanks so much for watching live. We sure appreciate it. And thanks for watching this after the fact. If you did that, we had a great time with you, and hope you had a good time too. I was Captain Logan. This is Eric.
This was Eric.
This is the Curious Lo.
Hi guys.
And Jackson Rasco.
Get out of my face.
Once again, I'm Captain Logan saying good night. Good night.